What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 7 update video. Yesterday I came across a headline that I think some of you might find interesting, or at least it will give us something else to think and talk about during this long off season. Last week, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau gave an interview with Esquire.com and he started discussing where we left off with his character in the Season 7 finale, and he talked about the potential death of his character, Jaime Lannister. I will put the link to his interview down in the comments just in case you would like to read everything that he said for yourself, but I will read to you some of the things that I thought were interesting. Near the end of the Season 7 finale, there was a scene where we saw Jaime Lannister overlooking the big map of Westeros that is painted on the floor. At this point, Jaime did have every intention of rounding up the Lannister troops to take north and help against the army of the dead. But as we all know, Cersei never intended on helping Jon and Daenerys, and this is where we got one of the best scenes from the finale, in my opinion. I thought the acting that we got from Jaime and Cersei in their last scene together was brilliant, especially the emotions Jaime showed on his face right as Cersei gave the Mountain the signal to kill Jaime. But for some reason, the Mountain did not kill him, and Jaime was able to walk away from Cersei, and now he's on his horse heading north. This is where the interview starts off with Esquire.com, and they ask Nikolaj what changed during Jaime's conversation with Cersei. So he takes us inside Jaime Lannister's head during these final moments with Cersei, and he says, finally he saw what everyone else had been seeing, or he's finally had enough. You always have to believe in something, and you always have to believe you're fighting the just cause. I think that for him, he could keep telling himself that they are invading us, that Daenerys, the Dothraki, are invading our country and want to take what's ours. And we want to defend ourselves. I guess you can argue that point. He saw what the Mad King was like, and the dragons are not nice animals. But now he's seen the truly horrific sight of these undead, and he believes it. He believes how scary they are. He believes Jon Snow. He believes his brother. And he believes Daenerys when she says she saw 100,000 marching. Obviously, the right is what Cersei does to begin with, that they're all going to fight this and see what happens after. Her argument before was that they have to fight these foreign invaders. Now she's suddenly saying that she's getting an army of foreign invaders to fight for her, and it's so messed up. And it doesn't make sense, fundamentally, and it's the wrong thing on any moral scale that he knows. She also has no respect for him. He's just there to do what she says. She shows little respect for him as a human being, as a counselor, as a partner, for everything. He's had enough. When Jaime says, I don't believe you, it's not just that he doesn't believe she's going to kill him. For me, at least, it was more like, that's it. I don't love you anymore. You're on your own. Why it took him so long, God only knows, but he got there in the end. Now this next part of the conversation I find very interesting because we all saw Cersei give the Mountain the signal to kill Jaime, but for some odd reason the Mountain only drew his sword. And I have been wondering, how the hell did the Mountain know that Cersei's signal only meant to scare him? Did Cersei tell the Mountain ahead of time that she has two different signals? One to intimidate and one to execute? I have been wondering this ever since I saw that scene, and the person interviewing Nikolaj asked him this very question, and this is what he said. There are two things. It could be that the Mountain didn't understand the signals. She was signaling just kill him, but he didn't get it. So they can have a big scene afterward where Cersei goes to Qyburn and says, you gotta train your monster. I was giving him the signal when he just stood there. I don't know. She still has feelings, and I think there's also a bit of her not believing what she's seeing. She's stunned at what's going on. Like she said, no one walks away from me. And clearly their whole lives, Jaime's been about her. What's right for her? How can I stay close to her? There's a moment of disbelief that he's actually walking away from her. It could also be that her little pet weapon didn't get the subtlety of the hand signal. He's really thick. That's the problem when you bring someone back from the dead. They're very dumb. You have to be really specific with your orders. I thought that was pretty funny that he just narrowed it down to the Mountain being too stupid to understand what Cersei meant by her signal. Like, she wanted the Mountain to kill Jaime right there, but he had no idea what she meant, as if her signal would have meant anything else. It's almost like the Mountain didn't take her that serious, as if he knew Cersei didn't really want to kill him. She just wanted to scare him, but I guess we're gonna have to suspend disbelief with this scene and just assume that Cersei has had off-screen conversations with the Mountain. And he knows that she has several different signals to do different things. But in my opinion, I am glad that Jaime was not killed during that scene. I am glad Jaime has a second chance at life and he has the opportunity to prove himself and do some good in this world that is constantly surrounded by evil. Cersei was obviously a very bad influence on Jaime, and now that he has broke free from her, we may really get a chance at seeing Jaime shine in Season 8, but all of this is still to be determined. Jaime will need to make it north without being recognized and killed first. He is a Lannister and they have a lot of enemies right now, but Jaime was smart enough to change his clothes first, and cover up his hand that way as not to be spotted so easily. Although he has a very recognizable face. This is where the interview starts to get a little bit more interesting, and this is when Jaime talks about the possibility of main characters becoming Wights. I think this is something that many of us knew would happen at some point, and now that Season 8 is here, I think we will finally see this happen. So Esquire.com asked Nikolai what Jaime was thinking on his horse while he was leaving King's Landing, and he says, "I have to do this." He truly believes that we all have to fight this thing. This is humanity at stake. We'll either have living or dead conquering the world. You see him covering up his gold hand, and he knows he has to get to some sort of commander, whether it be Jon Snow or someone else in charge. Otherwise, he's going into enemy territory and he's quite recognizable with that gold hand. If he wants to even get to battle before he's killed by Stark soldiers, he's going to need a bit of luck, and you'd hope he can get there. But who knows, I might read episode 1 of Season 8 and it says Jaime meets a Stark soldier and he's killed, and it would be disappointing. The fear is that I would be turned into one of those undead. That would suck. You know some main characters are going to get turned. There are going to be some blue-eyed characters running around, and God, I hope it's not me. I found this to be very interesting that he would say something like this during an interview. I don't know if I can consider this a spoiler, but it is definitely walking that fine line. Personally, I have been waiting for this day to come for a very long time. I mean, in the very first episode of this series, we see the little girl come back from the dead with her glowing blue eyes. But what we all get to see at Hardhome was even more spectacular. A big percentage of this wildling encampment rose from the dead with their glowing blue eyes. And it was just a matter of time before this would happen to some characters that we have known and loved for years. Now that the Night King and his army of the dead are south of the wall, we are on the brink of an all-out war between the living and the dead. And unfortunately, we're going to lose many characters in this war. And we can potentially see them be risen again as a soldier for the Night King. I actually made a video about this before Season 7 began, and I listed a handful of characters that I thought would become Wights in the Night King's army. Right off the bat, I assumed the entire Night's Watch would become more meat for the Night King's army, but it appeared as if the Night King wasn't even going to stop when he came marching through the wall. So we may or may not see some of the men from Eastwatch actually fighting for the dead. What I find so intriguing about what Nikolai, aka Jaime Lannister, said during this interview was he thinks main characters are going to be turned into Wights. Which has me thinking, which possible main characters do you think we can see again as a Wight? Comment down below and let me know which main characters you think will become Wights for the Night King. I know many fans believed we would see Hodor again as a Wight, especially after Hodor appeared in that Season 7 promo. It felt like they wanted to tease us with a Hodor return, but we never did see that. I think we could see Benjen again as a full-blown Wight, but I'm not really sure how that will work since he does have the dragon glass in his heart. But I have always pictured him coming back south with glowing blue eyes too. For a long time now, I have felt like we could get a very emotional scene where Jon meets his Uncle Benjen again, but this time Jon has to kill him because he's now a Wight, leaving him with no choice but to kill his own uncle before he kills anyone else. But it's so hard to say what they're actually going to do in terms of turning characters we know into Wights. But if you look at a map of the North, you can see that there are a few different places the Night King could stop before he makes his way down to Winterfell. The Night King is currently at Eastwatch by the Sea and he's making his way south. He might stop at the Last Hearth or even Carhold before he gets to Winterfell, and these two places are the seats of House Umber and House Karstark, which are currently in possession of the children as far as we know. I can easily see the Night King destroying both of these castles first, and in the process adding more meat for his army, including both Karstark and Umber kids that we met in the Season 7 premiere, because we know Game of Thrones has no problem with turning children into Wights. But I wouldn't consider either of these kids main characters, and I wouldn't even consider Hodor or Uncle Benjen as main characters either. When I think of the term main characters, I think of people like Jon and Daenerys, Tyrion, Cersei, Jaime, Sansa, Arya, and people like that. So the question I want to give all of you for the comment section is, what main characters do you think we will see actually turned into Wights before the army of the dead are defeated? Who do you think is most likely to fall during this great war? And better yet, which character would you like to see fighting for the dead? Not necessarily because you hate the character or anything like that, but just what character do you think would look cool as someone coming back from the dead and appearing as a Wight? I am very curious to see who some of you might pick. So let me know down below, and I want to thank all of you for stopping by and checking out the video. I do appreciate that as always. And I also want to thank each and every one of you who support this channel on Patreon. I will see you down in the comment section. Bye.